It started on a dreary evening. A young woman named Emily was idly scrolling through Snapchat on her phone. As a college student, she often used social media to stay connected with friends and family. She was a friendly and outgoing person, always eager to make new connections. But this particular evening was different. As she was flipping through snaps, she received a notification from an unknown user. Her first instinct was to ignore it, but the curiosity got the better of her. She clicked on the notification and saw a snap with a small red square in the corner, indicating it was from an unknown user. The title of the snap was Surprise. She hesitated, wondering what it could be. Finally, she clicked on the snap, and her heart sank. The image that greeted her was a picture of a mangled hand, with blood oozing out of it. Emily's stomach churned as she quickly closed the snap and blocked the user. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her nerves, but she couldn't shake off the feeling of dread. Emily was always a curious person, but this incident left her feeling uneasy. She started receiving more snap requests from unknown users, all with similar disturbing images. She felt like she was being hunted by some deranged individual. She tried to brush it off, thinking it was just a cruel prank, but the thought of someone sending her such images made her shudder. As the night wore on, Emily found herself checking her phone every few minutes, dreading another snap from an unknown user. She couldn't focus on her studies and couldn't shake off the feeling of unease. She felt exposed and vulnerable, wondering who this person was and what they wanted from her. Emily's normally outgoing personality was replaced with fear and paranoia. She started to feel like she was being watched, like someone was always behind her. She couldn't escape the feeling of dread, and she knew she had to do something before it consumed her completely. One night, Emily was home alone, scrolling through Snapchat when she received a snap from a user named The Butcher. Emily hesitated to open it, but her curiosity got the best of her. The image that greeted her was the most gruesome one yet. It was a close-up of a severed head, with its eyes wide open in terror. Emily felt her heart race and her hands tremble as she stared at the screen in horror. Suddenly, a message popped up from The Butcher. It read, "You shouldn't have opened that." Emily screamed and threw her phone across the room. She felt a surge of fear and paranoia as she realized that the unknown user had somehow found her personal information. She tried to calm herself down and think rationally, but her mind was racing. She felt like she was being hunted and didn't know what to do. As the night wore on, Emily became increasingly scared and paranoid. Every little sound made her jump, and she couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. She tried to distract herself by watching TV and browsing the internet, but her mind kept going back to the gruesome images and threatening message she had received. The next day, Emily went to the police and reported everything. They took her phone and traced the user behind the Butcher account. It turned out to be a notorious serial killer who had been on the run for months. He had been using Snapchat to taunt his victims before he killed them. Emily thought she had escaped the clutches of the notorious serial killer after reporting him to the police. But she was wrong. One night, while she was alone at home, she heard a knock on the door. She hesitated to answer it, but the knocking became more insistent. Emily cautiously approached the door and peeked through the peephole. Her blood ran cold as she saw the killer's face staring back at her. She quickly locked the door, but she knew it was too late. The killer had found her. Emily retreated to the kitchen and grabbed a knife, hoping to defend herself. But she knew she was no match for the killer's strength and brutality. As the killer barged into the kitchen, Emily prepared for the worst. They engaged in a brutal knife fight, with Emily fighting for her life. She managed to land a few blows, but the killer was too strong. He stabbed her in the leg, causing her to cry out in pain. Emily pulled the knife out of her leg and plunged it into the killer's neck with all her might. The killer stumbled back, clutching his bleeding neck. Emily realized that she had killed the serial killer, but she didn't feel relieved. She was traumatized by the experience and the thought of how close she'd come to losing her life. From that day on, Emily knew that her life would never be the same. She was grateful for having survived the encounter, but the trauma of the incident would haunt her for years to come. She realized that no social media platform was worth risking her safety and deleted all her accounts. Emily's experience serves as a cautionary tale to others. The digital world may seem harmless, but it can also be a breeding ground for danger and evil. Emily hopes that her story will inspire others to stay vigilant and protect themselves from the dangers of social media. This is The Curator. I hope you've enjoyed today's scary story. Until next time.